Let's go ahead and start. We'll begin with the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming through the weather. I'm told by the weatherman it'll be better when we leave, but not much. We have the minutes of November 28th, 2023 in front of you. Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
How about a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ben. We're short of people so far. I expect a few more to be drifting in here. But all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. At this time, do we have any public comment? We have none. Is there anybody here who wants to speak? Any public comment? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on. I'd like to go ahead with introduction of people here. I'm Kevin Breitsky. I'm the chairman of the committee.
Mitch Barlow, NERC staff.
Laura Baum, NERC staff.
Dean Button, City of Hammond.
Bob Thompson, City of Valparaiso.
And you're sitting in for Max Freelander today.
I am sitting in for Matt Freelander.
That's Trader Valparaiso Transit.
Gary Holden, American Construction Point.
Christopher Murphy, American Structural.
Jeff Hewitt, Sherrville.
Tom Schmidt from the town of Sherwood.
Alex Gillespie, Public Government Cipher.
Amanda Review, Jefferson.
Kevin Foley, NERC staff. Scott Weber, NERC staff.
Grace Benninger, NERC staff.
Tom Vanderwood,
Terry Martin, Terry Beal,
Thank you all for attending today. And we'll go on to planning, 3.1, Northwest Indiana 2050 Plus, land use and housing presentation by Imana Eberling. This is informational, so there's no action that will be required.
Good morning, everyone. As we do in every meeting now, we try to just present a chapter of the 2050 Plus plan. And today I will be presenting the regional land use and housing, which was really very good, different experience this time because we included the housing and we are required now by federal government to include housing with our plan. So in this one, we divided the plan into 3 sections. And the first one is just to look at the existing land use patterns, the population trends, the housing trends, which we have like a detailed analysis on housing. Also, we looked at the communities' comprehensive plans, and we focused also on transportation and commercial corridors. Then moving to the next part is, of course, looking at issues and trends and what's happening within the region in the last 30 years. We developed some land use principles that is applicable here to our region. And also we look at the projection of our future population here. And from that, we found what's our needs from housing and the type of land use that we have and the overall development and how we get a connected, equitable and environmentally sustainable region here within Northwest Indiana. So the first thing is we put the goals. We thought like what we need to do. So the first goal here is we wanted to plan for the needed infrastructure within our region for the non-motorized, specifically non-motorized, and we wanted to have a good connectivity using non-motorized, which is transit, walking, biking, and that's was the main focus. That's why we had a specific active transportation plan, and I think Mitch presented that before, so we focused on trail-oriented development. The next goal here is to identify the regional approaches from the economic and social resiliency within our region. What's the challenges, climate change consideration, and environmental protection. We also identify here, or the goal was to identify the key roadways within our region and how to reimagine and make it livable corridors within the urbanized area. Of course, considering the transit-oriented development, the efforts happening here by NICTI and the RDA, and try to develop the transit-oriented area within around the train stations, which we are supporting that, and we have also a program to support all of the transit stations. And then the 15 minutes city vision, and that's basically we tested, like within 15 minutes of a center or a downtown area, like how is the walkability and biking within this area? Because that's the main center, and we wanted to make sure that we have a good connectivity, either walking or biking within 15 minutes. And then the last goal here is to identify key places and corridors and town centers within the region. So the population here did not change much. It's a very slow growth in the population within the region. So actually in the last like 10 years, we have the 30 years and the 10 years. We still, in Lake County, we lost some population. So we gained it in some area, but like we lost significant population in other areas. So the total gain here is not as much. It's about 2.15 or 0.13 between that. So, but we still did like a projection with some improvements in the area to come up with the future population in the area. The maps here showing, the one on the right showing the changes of the population in the last 30 years, and the darker the color is the more change, the lighter, which is the yellow, it's like loss of population within the area. And as you see, it's in the last 30 years, it was around the west of Valparaiso, St. John, Crown Point, Winfield, some area in Schererville and Highland and Portage. So it was basically south of US 30 or around US 30, and we have significant change also within the county, the southern part of the county in Lake and Portland County. Housing, here is the housing analysis. As I mentioned, it was like really detailed. We looked at the affordability of the housing. So we categorized all the household income ranges, starting from around up to 25,000 and all the way to over 150,000 of household income. And in this one, in this map, so this one example of Lake County, that like, for example, all the people that making up to 25,000, they need to have a rent around 500 a month, and they need a house less than 60,000. And we're really lacking in Lake County like over 2,500 units. So these people cannot find something to rent, and maybe that they get some help from the government, but this is the type of housing that we're lacking. We also, in the contrary, like people with the household income over 150,000 and up to 100,000 or more, they also have shortage. they don't have housing, which they can afford anything above 400,000 price of a house, and we're still also lacking from the regional level here, as you see, I'm trying to see that the number. Can you see it? So the green line here showing the need, and if it's not reaching the column, it means that like we are lacking. But we have plenty of housings for people with income, household income between 50 and 100,000. So that's showing, you know, the shortage on the housing that we have within our region. And we're gonna take this information and share it with the real estate and developers to see, you know, like to focus in what type of housing. So either between 200 and 400,000, and also for the low income, we need housing that is, or renting, that is also accommodate their income. So that's the need within our area. So the next one, after we did all of the analysis, we have a significant analysis. I don't want to go through all of these analysis, but we look at different scenarios here. For the requirement for our region is to have increase by 2050 by 0.55%, and to achieve that, the population will be about 900,000. And by 2050, and also we need about 50,000 new residential units. So that's our need for the next 30 years or so. So we also require an increase in the urban development density. So as a minimum now, we need for the new construction to be on average of all the type of housing between 4 to 5 units per acre. We also require to have 3.5 square mile of industrial. That's a new industrial that can be distributed within the region, and 2.6 square of commercial within our area. It could include also infill and redevelopment. So we looked at the different scenarios. The first one in the top here, if we continue that having on average 2 units per acre, that's including everything, the multifamily and the low density, large single family homes, we're gonna consume about 40 square miles. And we tried the different scenarios and also try to adjust, reduce the number of the large lot and increase the still single family homes but small lots, what we're missing also the attached like duplexes and townhomes. We don't have enough of these, and of course multifamily. So and with every scenario, as you see, we try to reduce the number of development to save as much land as we can. And the preferred scenario was number 4, which in this one we're gonna encourage to have. We still have large lot single family homes, but it will be only 20%. Before it was about 35% currently. That's what we have, which is a very significant consuming number of acres. So we still have a large lot, about 20%, but the 35% is about like will be between 5 to 7 units per acre, and that's the desired single family homes. And I will show you that in the next slide, which is, I think, I can show you. This is Burns Harbor. Here at the village, they have seven units per acre. And this is one of the good examples. It's still like single family homes, but they try to be, no wonder this subdivision one got a national recognition because of the efficiency, and also they try to save with the energy, but they still have single family homes. Ty, our executive director, live there now, by the way. So that's a good example. So they still can have like a larger lot, but now with the new trend, try to preserve the land. Is better to have like between from 5 to 7 units per acre. especially in urbanized area. I'm not talking about the exurban or the unincorporated area. So that's the scenario we choose here, which is number 4. We're gonna consume 16 square mile in this one, and that's will take us. We have to change the future housing market in this one, and also we should depend on the missing middle housing, which is the attached like duplexes and preplexes and all of this type. We should build more out of them. So here is, I'm just discussing the missing middle housing, and as you see in Northwest Indiana, we have 85% actually is single family homes. So we have only 15% of duplexes, townhomes, or multifamily. So we don't have enough, and we should start thinking more about this type of housing within our area. So that's a solution. I'm showing here pictures of showing the type of missing middle housing within our area, which is as I mentioned again, we have a different type, even the mixed use between live and work and duplexes and the court, cottage court, and all these nice types. They have a very nice design now for this type of attached units. So in this one, we looked at I showed you the example of the Burns Harbor on the picture here on the right. But for the future land use development, we focus on the overall development, specifically for environmental, how to protect, how to consider climate change, how to preserve some of the area. We, of course, looked at the population and the type of density, as I mentioned, the contiguous community growth, which is growing around a community or a city or a town. What kind of growth is favorable in this area, and of course, the housing variety that I explained before. We also looked at the exurban development and agriculture conservation. And in this one, we put like a boundary between the suburban or exurban development and all the agricultural land. And the third part of the future land use development is the transportation corridors. We'll look at specify different type of corridors here, the corridor urbanism, what kind of amenities should we have with this type of corridors. Specific corridor need like a certain solutions, and also the transit and trade oriented corridor. That's we propose that within the land use and also with the active transportation chapters. Commercial retrofit, I have recommendations for all the vacant, significant vacant commercial that we have now, specifically as you see a good example, the South Sea Mall, which we have some parcels still empty years. It's a huge building, a huge surface parking, and how we gonna retrofit that and redesign these areas. And of course, new town centers. So this is the initial map that we put together here, showing the purple color or the light purple here, lilac color, the traditional development, and that's basically all the older communities. And these communities usually have a smaller lots. So they have like a good street grid system that is connected, and its type of development is pre-1950. So we have that in the older community, as you see, and we have it also around the downtown area of all the suburban communities. The second type, which is a light blue suburban development, and this is mostly have like a curved linear street patterns, and they have a lower density, of course, than the traditional development, and with the urban surfaces that serve all the urban subdivisions. The orange color, this is the residential exurban, and that's usually some of them around communities or in between as you see it here, and not all of them are served by sewer, usually septic, or they have a specific sewer packages system within their area. So this is how we divide it first before we come up with the final recommendations. And then the green line here, as you see, this line that's coming like a zigzag, that's the potential interface, which establishes the boundary between the exurban residential and development and agricultural area that should be preserved as a prime agricultural area. So we came up with like some recommendations for this type of development. I don't have to read all of that, but specifically what's for traditional development versus suburban, exurban, or even the development agricultural interface. And then we specifically come with some specific polygons here, making recommendation of the type of development and centers within the area. So you have, again, the purple color is the traditional development, and that's basically will include some infill and like a redevelopment of some of the area. And then the suburban with the city services, and that's even if the community has to expand around the city, making sure to expand in incremental way is expand as you have the surface. If you have the surface, you can expand and you start have more growth within your community. And all the lime green is a conservation development area. So this is like basically it's like a cluster development, trying to preserve the environmentally sensitive area. And then we looked also at the corridors. So we classified here, we have some traditional centers or major area development nodes like around US Stadium and I-65. And also we have another linear corridor and 41 and Calumet and Michigan City, Washington Street. So we specify what exactly and the type of corridor or centers, and we have also some recommendation for this type of corridors and what kind of land use should go there. Of course, we still have these recommendations, but the next task we will take that and proceed with more process and more analysis, and of course we will perform that with the land use committee. Also, the environmental corridors here. Here we're focusing on the west branch of the Little Cat as environmental corridor, the Hoosier Prairie and Hoover Branch, and Deep River also as one of the environmental corridors, which we already have this type of analysis and recommendation within the greenways, blueways, and how we make a connection between all of these green ways within the area. And the last thing here is now we are working on the implementation plan, trying to outline the next steps at NIRPC here, and looking is how we're going to accomplish most of the goals and objectives, and try to develop strategies and action items and prioritize, try to put a scope and put a budget for the next steps. So we divided that into like we have recommendations or project will come at the regional level. We also for the TIP, we're gonna have some criteria. Maybe we add in criteria, modifying the current criteria, or have some priority planning within the TIP. We have a lot of recommendations for local planning and to proceed to have like a very effective plans within the region. Education, we have a lot of information, and by the way, the housing section, we have an appendix, the appendix following the land use and housing chapter, including the housing analysis for every community. So every community can look at the housing table and look at the housing analysis and look what their needs. So if you wanted to plan for the future, look at what you're lacking based on the average income or the income, household income within your community. So, and of course, we're gonna develop significant data also and share it with the communities. So that's like a brief, it's a huge chapter, but I'm trying to be brief here and summarize it to hopefully you get a good idea about the housing communities.
Thank you, Iman. Is there, yes, of course there's questions.
Thank you. When you were talking about city and town centers on the slide, what do you do in the urban communities that sort of have like two town centers? I'm thinking of like East Chicago. It sort of has a town center around Chicago and Indianapolis Boulevard, but they also have the harbor, right? Main and Broadway, Main and Columbus Drive. Or Gary, who has Miller versus downtown
We have
Gary.
actually,
Would you populate that too as a town center?
it is included, and we like completed the livable centers study, which every community has neighborhood centers and more than a center. East Chicago has two. They have, one around the
City Hall, basically.
the City
one
Hall
around
and the Indiana Harbor area. So Hammond has like a 4 area or 5 area. So we identified that, and we actually consider that even with the points and scoring within the tips. You know, if you are located within any centers, it's not just the downtown.
But your graph showed only one center in each of
The
those
main
communities.
centers, because it shows the main centers, but we still consider that because they have a specific like connectivity of the 15 minutes, like biking and walking within the area because it has the most activity. But that does not mean that we consider other centers.
It just wasn't showing on the map. You just picked one for each community.
Yeah,
It seems
because they just mapped all the 15 minutes walk around downtown here.
Any other questions for Iman? Don't see any.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Iman. Thank you. I would like to mention that we've been joined by Mr. George Topol, David Wright, and then staff member Jim Birchfield. Thank you for coming. I will move on to Scott Weber making a presentation for Resolution 24-01. We're looking for a recommendation to the Commission, and this is adopting the safety performance measure targets for 2024.
Yes, thank you. Resolution 24-01, which you'll find on pages 3 to 6 of your agenda packets, details the adoption of the safety performance measure targets for 2024, as well as incorporates some of the additional performance measure targets that the New York City Commission has already adopted into the NWI 2050 Plus plan. So every year, metropolitan planning organizations like New York City are required to adopt safety performance measure targets. And what happens is the state, or NDOT, sets their own safety performance measure targets in roughly late August. And then MPOs have 180 days, so 6 months, to either choose to adopt the state targets or set their own. And every year in the past, we've adopted the statewide targets, and we propose to do so this time as well. Now, what makes 2024 different from the past safety performance measure targets is it's actually the first year that the state is being required to set declining, or in other words, improving safety targets. So these safety performance measure targets actually reflect those declining targets. Now, you might be wondering that it doesn't seem like much of an improvement yet, but that's because the way that these metrics are calculated is based on 5-year rolling averages from the previous 5 years of data. And so you actually will see, unfortunately, this will probably be the last year you'll see a little bit of a worsening in some of these metrics for the safety performance measure targets, but it's actually on a trajectory for improvement. So if you look at the tables on page 5 and 6, these are the tables that show that the ways that we're going to be adopting these safety performance measure targets as technical amendments into the NWI 2050 Plus plan and the fiscal year 2024 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Program. So the table on page 5, we'll only really focus on the first 5 rows of this table because after that, these are already performance measures that the Commission's adopted in other areas. So the safety ones that are relevant for 2024. The number of fatalities, the state has set a target of no more than 926 statewide on all public roadways, and so that's what this resolution is proposing to support. The rate of fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, no more than 1.10 throughout the state in 2024. The number of serious injuries, no more than 3,281 throughout the state in 2024. The rate of serious injuries per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, no more than 4.05 in 2024 across the state. And finally, the number of non-motorized serious injuries and fatalities of no more than 402 in 2024 across the state. So these numbers are going before the technical and policy boards of all the metropolitan planning organizations across Indiana. And so I'd be happy to entertain any questions. Actually, if you look at the table on page 6 that shows how these safety performance measure targets are going to be incorporated into the 2024 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Program, you can see the comparison between the 2023 targets and the 2024 targets. And like I mentioned, even though these 2024 targets are an improvement in terms of the 5-year rolling average, they still are unfortunately a little bit higher in terms of the number of fatalities. The target went from 894.2 to 926. The rate of fatalities went slightly up from 1.088 to just kind of a rounding of 1.10. The number of serious injuries actually did show an improvement in the target from 3,348.1 down to 3,281. The rate of serious injuries also a slight improvement from 4.068 to 4.05. And the number of non-motorized serious injuries and fatalities did show a slight worsening from 399.6 to 402. So are there any questions? I know this is a lot of information. Yes, Mr. Pope.
Yes, I have a question. The technical policy committee is for the state as opposed to the technical planning committee. I'm a little confused on the second paragraph of the resolution.
So on page 3, the second paragraph.
Well, it's already in the packets, page 4, but
Okay.
Page 2 of the resolution.
Okay.
Whereas the technical policy committee, TPC, or
Okay.
technical planning, or
I think that, thank you for pointing that out. That appears to just be a clerical typo on our part. It's referring to the NERC, this body, the technical planning committee. So,
wasn't sure.
yeah. So I guess we will change that. And this whereas clause would actually only be relevant when it goes before the commission, because this would imply that this resolution receives the favorable recommendation. So we'll make sure. Yes.
And for clarity, this is all public roadway miles, not just NDOT control.
Yes. These performance measure targets for safety pertain to all public roadways in Indiana.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Motion to recommend to the commission the resolution 24-01.
Mr. Pope, seconds.
As amended, I should say, right, as amended for Mr. Cope's suggestion.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you so much. This will be presented at the, I think this is the 19th, at the regular 18th, the 18th. Thank you. At the next emergency board meeting. That leaves us no programming to report. Yeah. Staying on schedule. Topical committee reports. Do we have any topical committee reports? Ms. Luther.
I wanted to, it's not really a committee report, but I did want to, I think we sent this out everyone, but make sure everyone's aware of the Indiana Climate Pollution Reduction Grant project proposal opportunity. I know we sent out about we are working on the Priority Climate Action Plan with Chicago because we're in their MSA to make sure our priorities get on their list. But municipalities, counties, township, any units of government or even private sector can apply for projects through the state. The state is going to be applying. They want to bundle as many projects as they can. I've been talking with them because I was thinking about trying to put together a Northwest Indiana one. I think it's way better for people to apply to the state. They have an intake proposal online. They want kind of the conceptual half of the application next week. And the priorities are really, I think, they really want to keep our low-income disadvantaged communities in their state application. So they're willing to be, they can still be expansive because they can still add practices to the plan if they get good projects. So if you have a project, utility grade, utility scale, renewables. I know that's a hot topic. But I'm going to call waste management, about the Wheeler landfill. Residential and commercial buildings, weatherization, or solar, or renewable, or heat pumps. So that means your institutional buildings, your city hall, your schools, they are all eligible to get, it's zero match, and they have to be projects with 4 or 5 year grant cycle. So it has to be something that's more or less ready to go in that amount of time. Transit expansion, electric vehicles in fleets. They specified light duty, but they were open to bus fleets. Landfill, diversion of organic waste. Anybody wants to start new composting? I don't know why. Solar, urban tree canopy and green space expansion, industry, and landfill gas collection. So there's a lot of different projects. If you have a different project, if you submitted for something else, like I'm gonna repackage the community building infrastructure proposal since we haven't heard back from it yet, and resubmit that through this as a backup plan. It should be something that you can explain why you don't have enough money to do it yourself. I would advise if you put in for Solar for All or any other solar to put in again for this. And I'd be happy to help anybody with questions or even help people with projects.
Where can we get guidance for that?
Basically, just look for IDEM and CPRG.
Thank you.
Handle that. Or come
CPRG.
see me afterwards if you want to.
Also, is the deadline next week, did you say?
Well, technically, the paperwork also says they want the intake the conceptual proposals by Monday, which I pointed out to them was a holiday. I'm like, are you going to actually be there? Because we're not. They're trying to prepare a notice of intent it's due February 1st. So they're willing to accept projects, particularly if they're within their existing categories. You're kind of outside the box, then we need a little more time, but all of next week, possibly even to the following week.
Can we email someone from them, from their office, and advise them that we want to have a bit more time? Will be willing to.
Yes, I'm gonna, I did not make 30 copies of this, but, yeah, you can see me and I'll be good. All right.
What's the name of the program again, Kathy?
Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, CPRG.
Thank you.
Well,
What were the amounts, or does it say that
So,
the projects can?
anything, EPA wants everybody to bundle up into big projects. The state wants to come up, be in the $200 to $500 million bucket. So, you can apply for up to 2 to 10 million. When you're competing with everybody on the planet, apply for 2 to 10 million. If you want to get 10 to 30 million, then you're competing with everybody who's applying to that bucket. The state's trying to get in the highest bucket they can for the amount of work this is. So, anything, millions, at least 2 million is the minimum project. I would say.
But that's not for an individual project, or it is, you need a $2
Well,
million project to
Or
send
you
it
could
to
do a
the state?
smaller project, you could do a smaller project.
Is the state looking to bundle projects, or?
Yes,
we
the state will
bundle?
submit one federal grant application for all of the projects they receive. That with their top priority being the list of things I read off, which is in here, and, but they're willing to entertain other projects, but almost everything you would think of will fit into these buckets, really. So, if you have a project idea, you could do, like, new windows and all insulation on City Hall, if we have it already. There's all kinds of different, things. So, contact me afterwards if you wanna get more information.
Thank you.
So, one more announcement, as it pertains, this is not necessarily a topical committee announcement, but Emergency recently released our air quality conformity document for the NWI 2050 Plus plan in the fiscal year 2024 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Program for a 30-day public comment period from January 5th to February 4th. There will be a public meeting on January 30th, on Tuesday, January 30th, from 2 to 4 p.m. in this room, where we will take comments from the public. And this document we plan to take to the technical planning committee in February, as well as the commission. And if it were approved, that would allow the Federal Highway Administration, hopefully, to finally approve our NWI 2050 Plus plan and transportation 2024 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Program, which will allow us to continue on with our federal programs. So, we hope for the best. I just wanted to announce that. That's on our website.
Thank you. Mr.
Yeah, I just wanted to make an announcement. We have our Ped Pedal Paddle meeting this month on the 25th. We will have a presentation on the Old Plank Road Trail study that we have partnered with Cook County Forest Reserve on, the extension of the Old Plank Road Trail from Chicago Heights to Sherrville. So that will be a presentation during that meeting.
Anybody else on topical committees? Don't hear anything else, so we'll just move on to reports from the planning partners. Drive Clean Indiana.
That'd be me. All right, Ryan is not here, so he decided to saddle me with this update. So bear with me. I do not want to read the whole thing to you. There are some grant funding opportunities that I'm going to highlight along with what Kathy had talked about. There is an IDEM 2023, but Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program. IDEM is announcing 1.46 million funding opportunities. And this program will fund efforts to increase energy efficiency and conservation for units of local government. Grant funds will target energy planning, energy audits, and building upgrades, and electric transportation for communities. This funding is available only to units of government that have not received federal energy efficiency and conservation block grant program funds.
It looks like that's the IOED, not IM.
Oh, I'm sorry, IOED.
Office of Energy.
Yeah, Office of Energy, and yes, my bad. See, I'm having acronyms.
If you get a DOE block grant, you're not eligible, but if you don't, then.
Right, so if you have a federal block grant, you're not eligible for the state block grant. Pretty simple. The applications have to be submitted to OED by February 2nd. So there's a couple weeks there. There's no minimum or maximum, but they anticipate awarded projects to be between 100 and 200,000 on average. And then I talked about the eligibility, and yeah. So just as a side note, we'll get this out to you by email today, this update, because it's pretty substantial. There's an EPA Clean Ports program, but I don't think many people here have water ports, but that's available, and that NOFA closes in May of this year. Kathy talked about the Climate Pollution Reduction Grants Program. They have a deadline submittal here of January 15th, but
That's the one that I talked to them about yesterday, and they were kind of
loosey-goosey. Okay, there you go.
They said it for sure all of next week, though.
They did say, I believe, if you intend to apply,
At least let them know.
let them know by the 15th.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, just send them an email saying,
Yeah.
we
and then-
intend to apply for this concept.
There is an EPA Clean School Bus rebate. The applicants must apply by January 31st of this month. There's $500 million available for this, and up to $345,000 per electric bus replacement for prioritized schools. So if there's something you can talk to your school district about. There's project updates he wanted to bring up. There is the National DARA program. They submitted 4 projects for an ask of $12.6 million and total cost of $39.4 million. They focused on Class 4, 8 GVWR heavy-duty truck vehicles and heavy-duty off-road equipment across multiple goods distribution sectors. Let's see here. The announcement should come in March of April of this year. They also had the electric vehicle charger reliability and accessibility accelerator. Wow, I need an acronym. Submitted application with IDEM and NDOT, requested $850,000 for 37 location replacements, and notification of award should come in January or February. And then NWI Partners for Clean Air scholarship applications are due April 30th of this year. So there are several events, but I'll just notice a couple here. There is a Indiana Clean School Bus webinar, Cummings presentation on the 16th. And then, let's see, Drive Clean Indiana is having their 25th anniversary at the JW Marriott on March 7th. And then there's an annual Partners for Clean Air's Awards luncheon in June. So, like I said, I will make sure that this handout is sent by email to the TPC list after this meeting, so you can review all the errors I made on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I'll get Ryan for that.
That was almost as hard to listen to as say. Do we have any other announcements from anybody at this time? Seeing none, all the future meetings in NERC through February 1st are listed on your agenda, including the January 18th NERC full commission meeting that will be addressing the resolution that we have forwarded today. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, February 6th at 10 a.m. in this room. Anything else good for the cause? Adjourned. Thank you. Drive safely.